Today we celebrate the Mass of the 32nd Sunday in ordinary time of the year. If we recall last week's Gospel, Jesus stressed the absolute need of love of God and love of neighbor if we are to be his followers. Today, that lesson in loving our neighbor and God is illustrated in the lives of two widows. What these two widows have in common is their willingness to give all they have without counting the cost or the consequences. The first widow in the first reading gave her entire supply of food to the prophet Elijah. The second gave 2 small coins, but she gave from her want, as Jesus Christ observed. Both widows gave small gifts, but what they gave symbolized the giving of themselves. We know that the taste of gift is not what it amounts to itself, but what its loss means to the giver. We have to give what will cost us, not what we do not need or want. Most often in our church, we always say that we need something for the food bank or for a group. At times, people will go to their closet and they bring out the food that has expired, what they do not need. It is not costing them anything. But if we understand the teachings of today's readings, giving from the heart, giving that what costs you something, then we will appreciate that when we give from the heart, probably getting a new thing and giving to those who will need it, or getting something that we also needed and giving it out. So when we give something that we ourselves desperately needed, as well as the receiver, at that point it becomes a true giving. Then that gift becomes a sacrifice. If you listen to the gospel today, Jesus Christ sat down opposite the treasury and watching the crowd putting money into the treasury. In Gospel of St. Mark chapter 12, verse 41. We have to understand this. Jesus Christ was sitting always opposite our treasury, the treasury of our gift, our good works. He always watches us do what we do. He is watching us say what we say. He's watching us give examples to people. He's watching us making some sacrifices. The aim of Jesus Christ watching us is not to condemn us, but to appreciate us, to affirm us. That is why today he was just sitting there, watching and affirmed this widow. We have to know that Jesus Christ is watching us always in our opinions, when we express our opinion, when we pursue our aim, our motives of action, all our actions. Jesus Christ is watching us. He's sitting beside that good works. Because when he will open that treasure, that our treasury on the last day, as he said in Gospel of St. Matthew chapter 25, that he will open that, he will recognize that I was hungry, I was sitting that treasure of that hunger. That person nearly there, he's just sitting there. Then when you are helping that person, when he is sitting there, when that person is asking for forgiveness, he's sitting there and you are offering him that forgiveness. That is the time he will open up that little sacrifice. He will affirm that. Today also, we notice that nobody recognized this woman, only Christ. And that will help us also to recognize the effort, the sacrifices that our brothers and sisters are making. It is good to affirm them. It is good to recognize that. And we also know that Christ will recognize every effort, any sacrifice we offered for the sake of love of God and love of neighbor, Jesus Christ is there. So what is very important is simple. Not only what we do, why we do that. It's what we are doing just to please people or because of love of God that we are expressing love of God. Our action is supposed to be for the love of God and the love of neighbor. Most of us wish we could do more, but unfortunately, because of the bills that we pay, many things that we do, we say that, oh, there's nothing I can do. But we have to know that love of neighbor does not depend only on currency or money, as some people think that, oh, because I do not have money. No. Love of neighbor is in everything. How we can offer ourselves, our gifts, our talents that God has given us. That when we can forgive, it's a love. Forgiveness is a gift. If I offer you that forgiveness, then you receive that. I'll be happy and you'll be happy. It's a gift. We can give out many things. Our time, affection, affirmation, encouragement. These are also the ways of giving and expressing the love of neighbor. If we can offer a little time, bring out a little time of ourselves, our attention to those that needed it. We also think about love of neighbor in this way. The places of our work. Do we give ourselves? Do we take our day-to-day activities, our work, take it to be a service to humanity, to be an expression of love of God? Do we do it or recognize that there is something that we are doing in that place that we are working, that we are serving people and serving God, doing it with sincerity of heart and integrity? Most often people forget that when we fail to keep our promises, that we are failing that love of neighbor. Or even when we are doing our work poorly, that we are failing that love of neighbor. That is many ways of expressing this love of neighbor. If we think about love of neighbor, think about sacrifice, the gifts. We think about God, who himself, we know that the Gospel of St. John chapter 3 said that he gave, God so loved the world. When God is, John chapter 6, that God so loved the world, he gave his son. It's out of love that he gave his son. And Jesus Christ, out of love, gave himself. So when we think about giving from the heart, as the scriptures that we have today is talking about, we give ourselves to each other in love. We give ourselves to our brothers and sisters, our families, our community, even in the church. When we give from the heart, giving ourselves from the heart, then we will understand what Jesus Christ is saying today, because he is there to accept that little sacrifice. So my dear friends, let us not think that our work or our job is insignificant, but it is an avenue for us to express the love of God, to express the love of neighbor. It's an avenue that Jesus Christ will look at us, sitting beside us, doing that, and he will say that this little sacrifice, that this little thing that we are doing, he will acknowledge that and raise it to be a burnt offering for him. So consider some of the opportunities that your work, your day-to-day life offers you to be of service to humanity. God is good all the time.